Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. Hey, when you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate it with chronic disease? We all do. It's been programmed right into us. But what if we flip that whole idea on its head? Let's discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and our lives. Welcome to the place where chronically means healthy, wealthy, joyful, and ridiculously alive. Let's flip the script together. I am Kristy Boyd Johnson, and I am so delighted to be here with our guest today, Leandra Frey, who is a life and dating coach and also part of our Chronic Health Collective. So I'm going to just tell them briefly. Leandra is, as a dating coach, helps women get over their heartbreak after a divorce or death. She helps them learn to believe in love again and guides them on their dating journey to find the love of their lives in 6 months or less. So welcome, Leandra.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you.
I'm glad to here. I'm so happy to be here with you today because I have questions.
Oh. I'm an open book.
So why don't we start? I think our audience would really like to get to know you because I know that so many people just give up after they get out of a really bad marriage or their spouse dies and they don't have the heart. And I think this is a really big topic.
Yeah.
So tell us a little background. What was your journey to get to being a life and dating coach?
A life and dating coach. Yeah. Well, part of my story comes from, I was married once upon a time. So I did the usual, get married. I wouldn't even say young. I think I got married right on time. I was 27 years old. I had gone to college, got a great job, had gotten assigned a project in New York City, and this was at the height of Sex in the City and The Sopranos. That was like, all the rage back then, and so it was all about like Manolo Blahniks and, New York accents. And so I was living in New York City right during this time. And I was highly, highly influenced and enamored by this, by living in the city and then also getting to watch it on TV. And anyway, so when I met my husband, I was in New York and he was an Italian fellow. So it was like, I felt like I was, in The Sopranos. Also living in New York City. So I'm like, I got the best of both worlds. I would not say that's the greatest way to choose someone to marry, but I did not have my values quite in the right spot. But we fell in love and it was, I was very much in love. And in the course of probably the first 18 months of our marriage, we were dealing with a move from New York to Dallas. My mom was dealing with a long-term illness and she eventually died. And then I lost my awesome job also in the middle of all this that I had in New York. So the career that I had built, I got laid off. So our little young marriage, because we didn't have great foundation, it could not withstand all those changes. I think maybe some marriages could have withstood it, but man, that was a lot in the first 18 months. And so in the middle of it all, I was grieving very hard. Grieving my job, grieving my mom. At the time I didn't know I was grieving my identity, but I was really grieving my mom. And I didn't know, I thought that my husband at the time would be able to take care of it, right? Like, you're supposed to know how to hold my hand and let me cry. And I mean, he was what, 25, 26? I mean, I don't even think a 26-year-old would have the capacity to know what to do with someone that loses a parent. I mean, we know what to do now. I know what to do now. We just lost my aunt recently, and I know what to do, but at that age, you have no clue. But I expected him to have it, so I blamed him for a lot of what was happening. Um, no, he wasn't having it. He didn't know what to deal. He didn't know how to deal with me. So his way out was, I'm just going to divorce you. So that was that.
I'm going to run away.
Yeah, we'll just solve this problem. And I don't want to deal with this. I can't deal with your nonsense. And that was the end. So and I was very devastated because I didn't know how to handle all that. So now I'm dealing with a divorce. And I mean, now looking back, poor guy, I mean, he just didn't know how to. It was just really hard on him, and I just didn't know. And when I look back on how I treated him, I mean, I was an awful wife, right? But I didn't know that, right? I mean, like, I wish someone had walked alongside me to be like, stop treating him like crap. But anyway, I give a lot now that I have like great vantage point from where I am. Now I give a lot of tools to who I work with. How not to destroy your marriage. I mean, I'll get into the dating part, but now I'm like, this is ways not to destroy your marriage. But I found myself at 31 back into the dating space, which, I mean, now when I look at it, I'm like, wow, that was really young. But it really sucks because 20s were really hard, right? I mean, I love dating, but man, it was really hard because you were dealing with, does this guy like you? Does he want to be with you, or is he just using you for all the good times? And so, you had all that, and that doesn't necessarily go away when you go into a different decade. So you're still asking all the same questions. But then you're older and all your friends are, getting married, and at this point they're having kids. So it definitely was a different space, and more people are taken up, right? Like more people are already in my age group are already getting coupled up, which is a real struggle because I found out later one of the stats is, I think it was like when you turn 38 or 37 or 38, that's when people start getting divorced. And so the pool opens back up. But from like 31, 32, there's like this big 5-10 year period where everyone is coupled up, and you're like, am I making that up? No, the stats our stats back it up. And I was like, don't look it up if you're doing that, but that was not helpful for my brain.
Yeah.
So, and I'm recovering from a cold, so excuse my voice. But anyway, I ended up, right after my divorce, I ended up getting a really great job right outside of DC. So, I ended up moving back. And at the time, I talk about this in my heartbreak clinic. I really thought by moving, a lot of us will do this. Okay, if I just move away and start over, that will heal my broken heart. Okay, I moved, and obviously you just take your broken heart with you, and you think and then I'm like, a new job will improve my identity, right? And I mean, while it did, because then I was back to the way doing the caliber stuff that high caliber stuff that I used to do. So I was like, that got recovered, but my heart was still broken. And so I was still kind of leading with that when I started dating. And so I was very, didn't quite understand it because I was, still able to get on dates. Like, it wasn't like I was struggling in that area. But then I didn't know how to move the date to a second date, a third date. Does this guy even like me? Is this guy just like screwing around and just, just like loves the companionship? And I was really looking to get married again, because one of the things about my first marriage was that I liked being married. I didn't have a problem with the institution itself. I just was like, well, I think I can do it better. And, I still believe in it. And I really liked being married, which was part of the problem. I think when I see people, I think even though I was heartbroken most of the time during the marriage because of all the loss that we were experiencing, I still knew marriage was a good thing. And I think when I work with some people, when they're coming out of really awful marriages, that idea of like getting back married again, they're like, no. But I'm like, marriage is a good thing. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. Yeah. And I totally understand it. I'm like, oh man. So in my mind, I was like, just be married. And I went around to all my friends and family that had been divorced. This was at my dad's wedding. My dad got remarried. By the way, I got divorced in 2010. And I had to go to like 4 good weddings of really good friends, including my dad's, as a divorced woman, right? My dad, he was widowed and he had just was getting remarried. And I mean, that sucked, by the way. That was brutal. By the way, I mean, I remember going to the Dominican Republic for, it was an all-inclusive destination wedding. And I was in this beautiful suite by myself. And the male guys were like, isn't there anyone with you? I was like, no. No time to get. Anyway, there was one of those moments. But I remember I would go, especially at my dad's wedding. I went to all my cousins that had been divorced and remarried. And I'm like, how long did it take you to get remarried? And they're like, 3 years, it was like 2 or 3 years. I'm like, man. And I think I'd only been like, not even a year. I'm like, 3 years is so long. It's like, and then when it all like ended between my divorce and my marriage that I'm in now, took 8 years. But man, thank God no one told me back then I would have died and given up, right? I would have been like, 8 years, a long time. So anyway, in the process of dating, and I just couldn't find someone that was, wasn't that I couldn't, I was finding good guys, but they weren't lasting. They would like drop off or, it just wasn't a good fit. So I was trying to figure out what was happening. And so I think like it was about 5 years after my divorce, I found this organization called Gap Community, and they do transformational personal development work, and they're still around. So they do these big, in this case, it was called Awaken. It was like one of those 4-day transformational trainings. There's another organization that's similar, Landmark, if you've ever heard of it. But it was a training that really focused on how you're showing up with others, what's your impact on others. Because a lot of the work that we do when we're doing personal development, we go inside, we're like, I'm going to work on myself and we're going to do all this stuff. This was like, how are you landing with other people and what's their feedback? What's their experience? And I was like, man, that's new. Anyway, one of the things it was very intense training. But one of the things that came out of that was that how I was landing with people was I was just very vanilla. Like they're just like, you just play it really safe. You're like kind of like, and I mean, that's not how I perceive myself. I think I have a vibrant personality, and they're like, no, you're very, very vanilla. Just, minimal smile. And I was like, man, that's not how I want to show up. And then the other thing was I'm so self-sufficient. They're like, it's like, you don't need anyone, which you and I have talked about that in the past. And so, and I was like, oh, I can see how that's affecting me in so many pieces of my life, including my work, because I wouldn't ask anyone for help. Definitely in the dating, it was like, I'm an independent woman. And at that time, I mean, I had a great job. I had an awesome apartment, I had everything I needed. So as far as like really bringing anyone in or being vulnerable, I definitely wasn't going to show that. Right. And I'm like, so that's how I was leading my life, keeping everyone at arm's length versus letting them in. And we say that a lot, but I surely did not think that, at all. And so, but when you get feedback from strangers that you never met, you're like, oh man, okay, it was 27 of them. I mean, it wasn't all, I mean, some people were nice, but it was one of those that were like, you want to be honest. Yeah. And so gradually my life really changed as a result of that. It wasn't like all at once. You know how sometimes you go to a training and you have like a mountaintop experience and you're like, I'm going to do all this. And mine was like a gradual, very gradual simmer. But then it like every day was a different day. I mean, then I started doing things that I have always wanted to do. And like one of them was become a CrossFit coach. I just always had a thought that you had to look a certain way, be a certain way to become a coach. And then I really fell in love with life coaching. That was right around the same time that I was like, I really care about how people are showing up in their relationships with others, because we don't talk about that enough, right? We talk about how you're not showing up, right? We'll be like, you are not doing this thing to make me feel better, right? So, but what does it look like when you take full responsibility and then ask someone, how does that land with you? Like, how is like, what did you think of that? Like, to be willing to ask those questions, right? And not just in your like relationships, but even in the workspace. And so I think like that became very powerful, even in my job at the time, that I just got better at asking questions. Now, that also meant that I had to get not a tougher heart, but be willing to take the feedback. But
Yes.
because of it, and I know we're going to go to break here in a second, but because of it, then I was able to ask honest questions, receive honest answers. And I would tell people, and to this day, I still tell them, watch, I'm going to make a face. Like, it's going to be disappointing, angry, mad, whatever. Just keep asking me, keep telling me, and just deal with it. And they're like, okay. I'm like, fair warning, right? Anyway, so we'll go more. We're almost there to the dating piece.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, that seems like a good place to take a pause.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Yeah.
When you look in the mirror, do you see skin that's just dry, tired, and stressed? It's time for a new ritual. Introducing Deep Love, the blue botanical face cream by Coolness. We've captured their tranquil essence of blue botanicals in a cloud-soft formula that deeply soothes irritation and restores your natural, healthy glow. This isn't just skincare, it's an act of self-care. It's Deep Love. Find your calm only at coolness.com. Scan the QR code now to visit our website.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. We are here with our guest, Leandra Frey, who is talking to us about her journey to becoming a dating coach and the big revelations that came up with her to her during this time. So you were just telling us how the feedback was an eye-opener for you.
Yeah. That the feedback, learning to receive feedback. And I mean, there's a lot of books on it. Fierce Conversations, the Situational Manager. There's a lot of books on it, but we usually think it from a corporate standpoint. And what does it look like when you do it in real life, right? If you tell your brother, or you ask your dad. We get feedback from our teenagers, right? Unsolicited. learning how to do it, not like that, but learning how to do it with your friends, right? But what it does is like asking for permission. May I give you feedback, right? because most people think of it as advice, but sometimes it's going to be like, this is how you're landing with me. And I don't know what's going on with you. Like, tell me what's going on. Or in this case, I'm receiving it. So then I have to go, but then think about, okay, how do I want to improve this if I really care about the relationship? And most of the time, if you're having those conversations, you care about the relationship. And it really started transforming a lot of my friendships. It transformed my relationship with my brother, which there wasn't a bad relationship. It was just a non-relationship. But yeah, there were so many things. And then as a result, my dating really changed. By that time I was actually in a relationship and I was engaged. And it was an engagement that was not a good engagement. But thankfully, since I'd learned how I was really showing up and really landing with this, he was a nice guy. But we were not a match. And I think we were in it because we thought that this is all there is, right? We were in one of those cases where you're just settling. And I was finally really I was able to really ask some really hard questions from him and vice versa and receive it. And the more we really talked, the more I realized like, wow, we cannot do it. Like I could see things like 20 years in the future that I normally couldn't think that far out. And I learned to do that. And so in the end, we broke the engagement, or I broke the engagement, but it wasn't from anger or anything. It was just like, we're just not on the same page. We don't have the same vision for life. It's not just about having a good time and just being together. And really one of our key things that we broke on was how our family was going to be with us. Right. You don't want family so much in our life. And I'm like really tied to my family. And so, so that's one of the things I realized what I'm looking for, and I'm not just saying like even with my husband now, we're very attached to each other's families. I just wanted family to be around. Right. And so, but anyway, yeah. So I was able to get out of that because of all these honest conversations and learning to not be so in my mind about being so independent. Because, independence, you don't ask people what they think or if you need help. Right. So it ties in together. If you're like really you're asking for feedback because you really want to bring the relationship up. Right. You want to evolve. Same thing with the company. There's so many things. There's so much beauty to it, but it's hard to do. And it has to become a habit. Like it's not a one every quarter or once a month. Like it's a constant checking in. That's what relationships are. But I digress because that will get us into the dating. But yeah, so when I broke that engagement, one of the things that happened was I was like, I know how to date. I know how to do this because at that point I had done, all around this whole area was I knew how to use Meetup. I knew how to use the dating apps. I knew how to use speed dating. The difference was I needed to get the results of who these people were faster and not take a long time. Like who were they? Who did I need them to be? Not who did I need them to be? Who are they? And then I wanted to show up who I authentically was from the get-go, not 6 months down the road, because people will hold back, especially women will hold back who we truly are. And then by the time we reveal ourselves, they can't play off that. If they're playing off a neutral version of you, you're not going to get the real them either. And so then either the relationship will pitter patter out, or you're like, there's no connection, or you're with the wrong person, right? Because it didn't reveal who we are. So when I got to go back in with all my new tools and ideas, then dating was A, fun, but B, it was really intentional. I mean, it was like, but I showed who I was really well. So there was no longer this vanilla person that was like, oh, you like that? Great. Just very neutral. I was very like, this is what I'm up to. This is what I'm about. This is who I am. And like, who are you? Like, and then I was curious about them because I was like, who are they? And of course, you get everything you need to find out in a first date, but I wasn't playing it safe, right? We play it safe when we're out dating. And so as a result, when I met Dale, it wasn't like, and again, sparks don't fly on first dates. And you'll hear me say that on any of my dating segments. It takes time, especially if you're on the, I think if you're older, older than 40, maybe 45. It takes time to really unlayer people because we're thinking with our heart and mind versus raging hormones. And so, yeah. So when I met Dale, it was I was dating other people, and I was having a great time dating other people, but we were just asking the right questions. And so there was one guy that I was seeing, I really liked him, but we realized that we were not going to be a match on faith, on faith-based, even though loved God, like both of us loved God, but there was going to be a requirement later that I was going to have to convert to Greek Orthodox. And I was like, I'm so glad we asked that earlier. I would have fallen in love with this other guy because he was that great. But he was like, oh, in order to marry me, you're going to have to convert over to this Greek Orthodox Catholicism, I think is where we were going. And I was like, that's not going to work. I'm like, no. Over here. But if I'd waited to ask those questions, then I would have been trying to like re-engineer things, right? And then with Dale, I knew I was moving back home when I met him. But we were still dating, and I finally realized I was going to have to tell him, like, I'm moving back home. Like, I have to tell him, like, I'm not staying in Virginia. I was in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, because I was moving back home to be with my dad. He had gotten sick, and I was like, I'm moving back to Texas. And definitely at this point, I knew I was moving back to Texas. And I just had to have the honest conversation with him that I was like, here's my situation. We could keep going, or we can end it right now and just call our losses. Like, just, it's okay. Like, but those were part of the honest conversations. Poor thing. He was like, but I really like you. I know that, but I need you to think about this like presently. But those are the conversations that sometimes we have to have them a little bit in the beginning. I'm not talking about the first date, but it takes a while to like meander through it versus like 6 months later saying, oh, P.S., I really want kids, or I really don't want kids, or I really want to move to London, or I really want to move to Texas, or I'm planning on becoming a doctor, or I'm about to hike the Appalachian Trails for 6 months, which is to one of my clients. But those are serious conversations that we need to have, that people are afraid to have because they think they'll lose them, but you'll find out who they are, right? So in the end, Dale agreed to. He was like, we'll keep dating, and then I will think about going to Texas. And so by the time we kept dating, because I think I had 8 months to go where we were, and then he meandered down to Dallas where we got married, and we've been married ever since. But we've been married for a little over 7 years, and the dating piece, how that came about was. Having gone through it, right? And then all the stuff I'd learned with all my transformational leadership, all the dating, I became a CrossFit coach. I eventually was like, I really want to help people with the relationships, not necessarily dating, but just like, come on, enough of this strange stuff. I mean, every time I talk to people, oh, we don't talk anymore. We haven't talked in 2 years. We haven't talked in 7 years. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we're created for love and connection. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. But anyway, I wanted to help people really find a way back to each other. And so I became a life coach to get there. But the more I niched down, I really cared about all these women that had stopped dating, right? After, a divorce, mostly I was looking at the divorces, but then when I really segued into it, and really declared I'm really a dating coach, still life and dating coach, but when I really narrowed down into it, then I found all these other women that had never been married. They were single moms. I knew there was a pocket of women that had never been married, because usually all we hear the stats is divorces and marriages ended in 50% divorce, second divorces don't, this, or, we hear all these other stats around marriage, but I was like, I think there's this other group that I don't think they've ever had a chance. And sure enough, I found them. And so I was like, there is a whole population. And so now I work with people that have never been married. Just because they never had a chance, or they were a single mom, never been married, but they had their baby young. So they were coming out of the single mom a single mom, like they're, I won't call them empty nesters, but like kids have gone out to college and they're like ready to go. And so I was just really grateful to have found a whole population of people that really desired to get married, but they just didn't have the time, didn't know where to start. And then plus all the other women that have been divorced, not necessarily the ones right out of their divorce, but there's a whole group that also had given up after 15, 20 years, right? Because they were playing it safe, raising their kids or whatever the situation is. And then they come up, especially if they're raising grandkids, they'll be like, oh, wait, the grandkids get older too. And so we need to have something. So that's where I really wanted to help with the mindset and how to have those honest conversations, back to those honest conversations, because a lot of times, I mean, in the world that especially in the dating world, everything's coming down to those conversations, because otherwise we get a lot of people that are dating these really nice men, but they're not going anywhere, right? They're like, oh, well, we have dinner and like, I might spend the night or, something like that. And they want so much more. And I'm like, it's available, but this might be the guy, also might not be the guy. And we need to exit out gracefully to find the person that you're really looking for. But being willing to have those conversations, that takes bravery, courage. There's some strategy there because you got to learn what to say and not sound like me. Like,
that was one of my questions is, how do you start approaching this without sounding like you're interrogating them? Do you want marriage? Do you want kids?
Yeah.
Do you want that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you don't do that on the first date. Some people will do that. I'm not in my clients, but sometimes you'll hear, like right now, I work with young adults on Monday nights with a separate ministry that I have. It's a young adult fellowship. And there was a couple in there that was on Hinge. They met on Hinge and they're like 22. I think not even 22. I think they're 20. They're 22. Okay. But they were real funny on their first date. They did that. And it worked. I'm like, that would never work. I know that 9 times out of 10, that would not have worked in other, like, I don't care how old you are, 22 or 52. So, but it worked in their case. But I think they had run the gamut. Like they had been on Hinge and dated. And I think they were just at this point really sick of it. So they were like, are you Christian? Are you going to work? Are you not going to work? Blah, 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 blah. You do this thing. But at the end, they still had to get to know each other, right? Like they still had to, even though that was the first date, they still had to go through the process, right? So even if you're like first thing out, or you want to get married, and some people get stuck on the profiles. Speaking of that, where someone doesn't, like, I'll have a girl, a client, they'll say, well, I don't want to put, I'm looking for marriage because then I'm afraid no one will come talk to me, right? Because then the guys will be like, I'm not looking for anything serious. And I'm like, no, you still need to put what your intention is. And you're still going to attract those guys that don't want anything to do with marriage, but we'll be able to filter them out better. But you're still looking for the people that are looking for you. At the end of the day, this is about, we need to find the people that are looking for you. So you still have to be who you are. Again, being honest, even on a profile. And I tell them, even with the profiles, if they're online, I'm not here for a texting buddy, because texting, you can get stuck on the messaging part of on the dating apps and stay there for days and weeks. And I'm like, no, we got to, if these people are serious, again, attention. I'm like, we will get them onto a date in 9 texts or less. I'm not talking about a dinner. I just tell them, like, just make it a coffee date, a 90-minute coffee date. You don't have to tell them it's 90 minutes. I'm telling you that's 90 minutes, but a coffee date or a walk in the park as fast as you can. They're like, but they'll think I'm crazy. I'm like, we need to find out who are the people that are on there for real. Like, they're looking for you. And they realize that they do find out that when they do that, when they finally say, oh, you're really, what you say is true. I'm like, I know. It's true. but I can't do it for them, right? I'm like,
Right.
try it. I promise you it works. But it helps them filter out people that are just there for entertainment.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we'll talk more about how to get because not everyone's doing dating apps. I encourage them to do Meetup, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after this break. But
Good.
yeah,
Give some strategies.
yeah, some strategies.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever else you want to know.
All right. Yay. I can't wait. All right. Stay tuned, everyone. We're going to be right back with Leandra Frey.
Hi, I am Leandra Frey. I am a life and dating coach. I help women that have gone through a divorce, widowhood, or if it's been a long time since they've been in a relationship, I help them get back on their feet, gain courage and confidence to get back into the dating world and find the love of their lives in 6 months or less. The reason I do this is having been divorced myself, I have been out in the world, the dating world, what I would call the gauntlet. And it can be hard when you've come off a divorce or you've come off a long time breakup and you find yourself starting and stopping. And sometimes you stop and many years can go by. And so what I'm here to do and help you is to help you along the way so that you don't give up on yourself and that we learn to create resilience in your dating so that you can keep going and not waste 5, 7, 12 years of your life thinking there's no one out there for you. There are many people out there for you. There is someone looking for you today. So that is why I do what I do, because I love bringing people together because we are all created for love and connection.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with Coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Hello, and welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. So, Leandra, let's dig into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
So, we have a woman of some age who has either never been married or has been perhaps been in a bad marriage, which is the category that I'm in, or just didn't work like yours. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't meant to be. And or are perhaps widowed and are just lost in this, what do we do? Or just stop because it's just so overwhelming and confusing and sometimes frustrating.
Extremely.
You know? So the men that that you think. I had an experience once where a guy took me out on this very lovely date, dinner, dancing, very nice. And at the end of the night, he basically attacked me in the car, and I punched him in the face and jumped out and ran for it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Like,
oh, man.
How did you?
No.
You're like Jekyll and Hyde. Get away from me.
Or wrong expectations on his part.
Oh yeah, and never a question ever about what maybe So I just was like, So that was it for me. I'm like, this is the caliber. If this is the caliber of guys that I'm attracting.
No, there's nice guys. There's guys that still, they reveal themselves right away though. And then to avoid that, no first dates look like that. I say, oh, they want to take you to a nice dinner? No, you do. You do coffee, and then you go in your own car.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are things. I mean, when you're young, I get it. We're used to that, but now that we have a little bit more agency, I totally get that. So
yeah. But I don't know. I'm, that's one that was scary, but
yeah, I'm so sorry you experienced that.
Oh, it doesn't have to be scary though. It could just be not pleasant or just boring or not right in some way. And so what do we do? How do we find nice ones? And I personally am not a dating app person. I really have no interest in that.
Yeah.
So
dating apps are an efficient way. That's why you would use them, is because it cuts through all, like, is that guy, if you're like in a Costco, there's a lot of nice looking men, but at least like, which ones are available, because not everyone wears their wedding rings. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people should go up at Costco, but I have had clients get asked out at Costco. So it's available. But the big two places that I tell people, if they don't want to do, the dating apps, I love Meetup, and it's a website. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if for all the listeners, Meetup, I highly encourage it. Not just for dating, but for friendships. It's a website for friendships. It's been around for 20 plus years, maybe longer, but it basically brings people together that do like things, that like to do the same things. So if you like to do trivia, they have trivia. If you like to go kayaking, camping, winter sports, walking, reading, anything. I mean, you name it, they have it. Right? My big caveat to that is find what you like. So if I'll use board games right now as an example, because my niece and nephew started hosting board game meetups recently, and they have all these new friends, and they brought them to Thanksgiving to my house. Wow, y'all are really good friends. Yeah, because close friendships get developed. And I also use Meetup when I was out in DC, and I still use Meetup for friendships. And also as a business, you can, have meetups. And that's how I bring women together to talk about all the things that they want to talk about regarding love. But the part that I encourage is, like, let's say you do the board games, I'll give that, is make sure it's co-ed. Right. So make sure there's men, because you might go, and if it's all girls, that's not your jam. Like, you're going to have to go find another board game of men. And then you're going to go regularly. Like, if it's, I encourage you to go meet up once a week, once every 2 weeks, but because you're going to go build a relationship for the people that are there, men and women included, but you're going to build it just like if you were doing networking, or if you're going to a church or any kind of group, you're building the relationship. But what I love about the board games is that, actually, this is for anything. It could be trivia. The thing about Meetup is you're doing other things than just talking to each other. You're like actively doing something that you like. So if that's the case, let's say you choose board games, then you're going to go regularly, because you're not going to find your Prince Charming right away. It takes a while to reveal themselves. And then you're going to sit next to someone you have not sat next to every time you go. And if I'm your dating coach, I'm going to say, did you sit next to a man? Yes. And did you talk to them? And ask how their week was, right? Because those are easy things to talk about. So those are some things that anyone can do. And again, like, if you're like, well, I'm married and I don't, whatever, but like, some people are empty nesters and they need new places to hang out, or they just moved. How I found Meetup is that I moved and I needed to make new friends. So when I went, I was looking for new friends, but I also found new friends, and possibly I met some good suitors too, because I got to see how they were, right, with groups of people and out and about. And it was awesome, because I remember there's one guy, I mean, he was so cute and hot and blah, blah, like, but he treated women like crap. And so I was like, no, like, I mean, I just remember once I realized like what kind of guy he was, I didn't have to entertain it or flirt with him or whatever. I'm like, we just stayed in the friend zone. But it was really nice to see that in a Meetup type of place. So a similar thing would be the Facebook groups. So if you have active Facebook groups that are actively doing something, same thing, hiking, biking, puzzles, whatever. Just go regularly, sit next to a different person, and then eventually, organically, the conversation will easily say, "Oh, do you want to go for coffee, or do you want to try this out?" It works every time. Even though what, it's the act of showing up and putting yourself in a new place and making yourself accessible versus being in your house. So that's a safer way. And then the second way, which is my favorite, you might not like it, but I still love it, is speed dating in person. There's virtual too, but it is also another efficient way to meet like 20 people, 20 men. And if you've never done speed dating, usually, I mean, we see it in movies. It's kind of cheesy, but it is exactly like that. And, they usually rotate the men, but the women stay in place, and you have about 3 to 7 minutes to talk to someone, and you ask them whatever questions. Sometimes the speed dating people will give you the questions to ask, but you have this time to talk, and then like they have what do we call it? Like you have a piece of paper or app or something to say, I thought this guy was cute. He's really nice. I would love to see him again. And one of my favorite speed dating organizations, I still promote it on my newsletter, is professional. It's called Pros in the City. It's professionals in the city, but the website is Pros in the City. And they have an app, not an app, but a website or whatever. Like after you go through your people, that if you want to click who you liked or would go on a date with, then you get to exchange information. And it doesn't exchange phone numbers or emails yet. It just, you can only do it on their board until you feel comfortable. And so I tell all women when they go, I'm like, unless they really creeped you out, like, I mean, there's usually one in the bunch that will creep you out. Go just say yes. Just click yes for a match, because then you still have to make sure they matched you. So let's say you like 10 of the guys, but only 7 liked you. Then you would get the 7 numbers. And those are 7 new available, not 7 numbers, but 7 matches and get on a date. And most people that are doing the speed dating, especially Pros in the City, it's short for professionals in the city. So they're all like educated. They all have great jobs. So you're already dealing with really, not just, do they work at the gas station down the road? So anyway, but there's other organizations that do it. I think Jigsaw Dating is also across the country. They also do like coffee dating. They do trivia. They do all sorts of that stuff. But the key to that is like anything, if you've ever done networking, is making sure you make the connection, give your phone, say, hey, I would really like to meet you. Very similar to how you would do on the dating app. I really like talking to you for the 4 minutes. I would like to have coffee in real life with you. Blah, blah, blah. Give your email or something. Because I think the window is usually like a week or 2 before they close that messaging thing. And, but yeah, so those are just some strategies if no one wants to do the dating app. And then I think just going out when someone asks you to say, hey, would you like to go to this concert? Would you like to go to this thing with me? Go with them, because I mean, I hear tons and tons of stories, because that's all I do now for a living, is tell me the story of how you met. It's not always the dating apps or this thing. It's just that they were out and their friend introduced them, or they were at this concert and they saw a cute guy or cute girl, someone walked to them, or it sparked a lively conversation. So that's all available, but you have to leave your house.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to, I know we're getting short on time, but that leads me to a question of, what about older people? Yeah. Because that's harder for them. Yeah. They tend to want to stay home. Yeah. And maybe they're retired, or maybe they're still working, but they're it's harder. Yeah. So what about for older people?
It is. Yes. So my oldest client is actually 73. And she's actually on the dating apps. So there's one that's for older gentlemen and women. It's called Our Time. So it is it's a wonderful app. I think it's great because it costs money, and like people are there either semi-retired or retired or have the grandchildren thing. So you hear the conversations of like how they're having to maneuver through their schedules. So I think that's great. But the key to that one, and she runs into it. And actually she's not just I have other women that are in their 60s and they use Hinge. They've used Hinge and they have succeeded. So there's all sorts of availability here. But they could use Meetup too, like they have done, but I think they were more on a mission. It depends on your mindset. Like, you know, you're like, hey, I'll do what it takes to meet these people. So yeah, all those tools are still available to them. They just have different demographics, or like I said, our time works. But then, like I said, I think she was in her 60s, like 65. She used Hinge, which most people think of that's like, you know, for 20 and 30-year-olds. No, it's available. It's available. You get to see the ages. So I think usually what they run into, especially on that, especially when we start getting into our 60s and 70s, is if the big one is having the same station of life. So they've run into if someone's retired or not retired. Usually if like my clients are retired, they don't want anyone that's still working, or they'll try to date, but that it doesn't work as well. But that's station of life. So that's one of those things where we have to look at a compatibility and understand like, hey, you're looking for someone that's actually semi-retired or retired, not fully working in the workforce. It's a really interesting dynamic, but it's cool to see when people are trying to figure it out, when they're like, I can date someone who, it's like, even when I get someone who's on the younger side and they're like, I can date someone that travels 2 weeks out of the month. And like, we can create a life. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And then they realize like, no, it's like,
oops.
Like, I really want to be with someone all the time. They realize what they want, but that's the whole process of dating. You figure it out, because sometimes you'll think, oh, I can handle that, or no. If two people are retired, right now, one of my clients, she's fully in a relationship now, and she was dating someone that was not retired. It was a real, like, she really liked him, really liked this guy, and station of life wasn't working. So she's now with someone that is semi-retired, and they are having a ball, just a ball. And because then you have more fun, it's exciting. So usually that's what I've noticed is it's easier if they're same station of life. And same thing with, I know we're about to wrap up, but same thing with if someone has kids. Like, I have clients that are like, I will not date someone that has a kid younger than 15. They have to, and they'll say, I am not changing diapers. I'm not going to soccer games again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, know what you like. I'm like, know what you like.
I'm over that now. I'm past that. Don't want to do that anymore.
It's really funny though. But again, everyone has their preferences. There is enough for everyone. I want to be clear. There is enough men for everyone, enough women for everyone. You just have to show up and don't stop looking.
Well, on that note, that very positive note, how can people find you out in the world?
Yeah. I have my Instagram is at Frey Coaching, Frey. I'm also on Facebook, Leandra Frey. And I have my own website, Leandra Frey Coaching. It's a lot of Freys in there, but it's Frey. That's the big thing. So you can reach out, email me, DM me, any of those ways. I'm available, and that's where I put my events and tips and ideas to help you be successful and find your person.
And you can scan the QR code and probably goes to your website, I think.
Yes.
Is what it is. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. Getting to know you is just awesome.
Thank you. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me talk.
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful. So that's a wrap, everyone. Join us every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time on e360tv.com, on the Vitality TV network, or on YouTube at Chronically Healthy Life. Or you can swing by chronicallyhealthylife.com this week for your free 30-minute consultation with Andy, or our brand new healing skincare line at coolness.com. Until then, stay vibrant like Leandra, stay fierce, and stay ridiculously, unapologetically, chronically healthy. See you next week.